Overview. The Innovators, How a Group of Hackers, Geniuses, and Geeks Created the Digital Revolution, by Walter Isaacson, chronicles the origins and development of computers and the Internet. The book begins in 1833 with the vision of the English mathematician Ada, Countess of Lovelace, and ends with the question of whether artificial intelligence will ever surpass human intelligence. Over the past 2 centuries, digital innovation has been spurred by the combined efforts of individual visionaries working alongside engineers, programmers, marketing geniuses, scientists, nameless technicians, hackers, hobbyists, and countercultural figures. It was the Countess of Lovelace who, in the 19th century, first envisioned what would come to be known as the general-purpose computer, a machine that could read programs and process any type of symbol. She imagined an intersection of art and science that would lead to beautiful new possibilities. However, it wasn't until the early 20th century that cross-pollination among a number of thinkers and inventors resulted in the completion of the first general-purpose computer. Many institutions cooperated to nurture the rise of both the computer and the Internet. The U.S. government, specifically the Pentagon, played a large role in funding technological advancements. In order to facilitate the research and development needed to create the Internet, the federal government entered into a 3-way partnership with prestigious universities and private corporations. This became known as the Military-Industrial Academic Complex. By contrast, it was largely market forces that inspired Bill Gates and his partner Paul Allen to innovate software for fledgling home computers. Then there are those innovators who were inspired by the prospect of communal creation. In 1983, as Gates was announcing Windows, Richard Stallman, a hacker who worked at the MIT Artificial Intelligence Lab, was brewing a different approach to developing software. He believed proprietary software was wrong, since it involved an agreement not to share. He invented a free software license that was then perfected by a student at the University of Helsinki named Linus Torvalds. This Linux software became available for anyone to use, share, or modify. Interestingly, innovation was also furthered by the design and management structures of the offices where digital age inventors and visionaries worked. These spaces developed to become casual, non-hierarchical, and open to new ideas. Over the years, computer technology progressed in both incremental steps and intermittent leaps. In 1947, for example, the invention of the transistor, which amplifies electrical power, allowed computers to shrink dramatically. The transistor was created through the combination of one scientist's grand vision and years of work by a diligent and diverse team of experts. William Shockley, who was working at Bell Labs at that time, conceived of a replacement for the clunky vacuum tubes that controlled the electric current in a computer. But it was the work of physicist Walter Brattain and electrical engineer and physicist John Bardeen at Bell Labs, along with a large team of chemists, experimentalists, and manufacturing specialists, who finally succeeded in making a transistor that worked. In the late 1960s, ARPANET, the Defense Department's early internal Internet, allowed researchers to share resources between computers. ARPANET was made possible through the accumulation of a series of important small discoveries, as well as large conceptual advances. Initially, the development of the Internet did not progress alongside the development of personal computers for consumer use. For more than a decade, the Internet was only accessible to government and academic researchers, whereas the home computer, which was made possible by the invention of the microprocessor, was initially developed at a grassroots level by a hobbyist. It wasn't until the late 1980s that the Internet became available for home computers. Many innovations of the digital age were initially designed for industrial or military use, but they were soon turned towards social purposes. The computer and the Internet were created through interconnectedness and cooperation, and they continue to promote those values in the world today. Reflect the democratizing technologies that the companies are producing. 9. Nearly all innovations in the digital age were eventually directed towards social uses. Analysis. Key Insight 1. Almost all of the inventors and visionaries who contributed to the advance of digital technology had one thing in common. They appreciated the arts as well as the sciences. Ada Lovelace was interested in what she called poetical science, or the application of math and science to poetic purposes. For example, she viewed the automated weaving loom as a form of poetical science. Lovelace wasn't the only innovator who appreciated both the humanities and technology. William Shockley, a physicist and inventor, whose work led to the discovery of the transistor, was raised to love both as well. Computer scientist Steve Russell and his fellow hackers in the MIT Tech Model Railroad Club regarded the intricate web of wires and circuits underpinning their railroad as a thing of beauty. J.C.R. Licklider, who pioneered the concept of the Internet, had a passion for art as well. He believed it made him more intuitive. Scientists and mathematicians have long found beauty in their disciplines. In a 1997 article in the journal Proof and Progress in Mathematics, Giancarlo Rota explains how the word applies to theorems. One example is the theorem that says that in three-dimensional space, there are only 5 regular solids called the Platonic solids. Additionally, proofs and theories that are short are often called beautiful. A proof that uses ideas from another branch of math results in a surprise element, which is beautiful. Vicky Neal, a lecturer in mathematics at Oxford University, has explained that beauty can be used as a tool in solving complex equations. When Neal must consider several possible solutions to a problem, she attempts to discern which is the most elegant, meaning the most efficient, direct, and precise. In other words, she tries to pick the most attractive strategy. For some, the beauty of math is obvious but can't be explained. Hungarian mathematician Paul Erdős has stated, "Why are numbers beautiful? It's like asking why is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony beautiful? If you don't see why, someone can't tell you. I know numbers are beautiful. If they aren't beautiful, nothing is." Key Insight 2. Innovation in the digital age has largely been the result of collaborative processes as opposed to the work of lone geniuses. From the development of the first proto-computers to the perfection of contemporary open-source software, collaboration has been central to innovation. Mathematicians, programmers, engineers, psychologists, and many other experts need one another to share ideas to solve stubborn conundrums. When physicist John Mauchly and electrical engineer J. Presper Eckert decided in 1940 to design a digital electronic computer, they drew on the knowledge accumulated in building previous models, including an electronic calculator at Iowa State built by John Vincent Atanasoff and an analog computer designed by Vannevar Bush at MIT. Mauchly and Eckert added their own innovations to create the first fully modern computer. The development of the Internet was made possible by the contributions of many researchers at hybrid military-industrial academic centers. In the 1950s, psychologist J.C.R. Licklider helped develop systems for computer time-sharing at MIT, which allowed multiple terminals to be hooked up to a single large mainframe computer, so that many users could enter commands at once. Bob Taylor, who led a division of the Defense Department's Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, came up with the idea of creating a computer network so that ARPA researchers could share resources. This network, known as ARPANET, was the precursor to the Internet. Wes Clark of MIT's Lincoln Lab invented routers. Engineer Paul Baran conceived of packet switching, the data transmission method in which information is broken down into small bits, sent across the Internet's many nodes to its destination, and then reassembled. A group of grad students figured out how to connect a few distinct networks at different research institutions, and in 1973, ARPA electrical engineer Robert Kahn and his partner Vint Cerf of Stanford devised a way to connect all networks, creating the Internet. Research confirms that collaboration is key to innovation. A review of the relevant literature demonstrates that collaboration between businesses, universities, government agencies, and laboratories leads to increased synergy and efficiency, as well as expanded resources and knowledge. Collaboration between businesses also leads to innovation. A study presented at the 2017 European Conference on Innovation and Entrepreneurship examined the relationship between business collaboration and innovation at the regional level, tracking the activity of small and medium-sized firms across 23 European countries. Results showed that the more that innovating firms collaborated with one another, the higher their innovation scores were. The paper concluded by suggesting that European regional authorities tailor policies to facilitate collaboration among businesses. The study shows that just as collaboration between individuals and between government, business, and industry has been essential to advancements in tech, cross-pollination between businesses themselves is also important to innovations. A good example of the benefits of businesses working together is the multinational corporation Procter & Gamble. The company has systematically made use of collaboration since 2000, when CEO A.G. Lafley decided that half of P&G's products would come from internal research and half would come through partnership with outside companies. In one instance of collaborative strategy, P&G was inspired by a handheld duster made by the Japanese company Unicharm. P&G bought the rights to sell the duster outside of Japan and renamed it Swiffer. The product was a huge hit. In 2014, the company received an Innovation Award from the International Association of Outsourcing Professionals for creating a culture of collaboration both within the company and with its suppliers. Clearly, teamwork is a winning strategy, not just in tech, but in other industries as well. Key Insight 3. The collaborations that have been most successful have featured strong, visionary leadership. Although digital innovation has not usually resulted from a single flash of genius, progress did depend on individual trailblazers. Although the Internet was created over time, through the contributions of many, J.C.R. Licklider could be described as its originator. He envisioned the two most important characteristics it would feature: decentralized networks and friendly display screens, and he worked for years with teams at MIT and ARPA to make his vision a reality. Similarly, Apple creator Steve Jobs had a vision of building the first all-in-one computer that would be easy to use and have a simple, elegant exterior. He then decided that Apple would create the first consumer computer with a graphical user interface, GUI, which is a screen that looks like a desktop with folders, windows, and icons. It was not Jobs' idea. He was building upon years of research and innovation by luminaries at Xerox PARC, who had created the little-known Xerox Alto computer with a GUI. Yet, unlike Xerox, Jobs had marketing genius. He knew exactly what would work, and he saw the project through to execution. The result was a great advance in human-computer interfacing. Instagram is a digital age advancement that built on others' ideas, but required focused leadership. Instagram's co-founder, Kevin Systrom, had a strong, clear vision from the company's inception. Systrom had always loved photography and programming, and even after he went to work at Google, he retained a desire to pursue social media and photography. A few years later, he decided to start his own app, similar to the location-based app Foursquare, but focused on photos. Aside from the photo-sharing aspect, it wasn't much of a hit, so Systrom started over. He invited friend Mike Krieger on board, and they began to brainstorm how to improve the app. They were inspired by both Hipstamatic and Facebook. They liked Hipstamatic's filters, but it was difficult to share photos on the app. Facebook also wasn't great for sharing pictures, so the two began experimenting with a stripped-down photo-sharing app. After 8 weeks of frantic designing and coding, they released Instagram. Without Systrom's tenacious vision, the world may never have been introduced to the app, which now boasts roughly 800 million users. Key Insight 4. A variety of forces spurred innovation in the digital age. The U.S. government funded many initiatives, but private firms also pushed the digital revolution forward, as did voluntary collaborative efforts. Computer technology has at times been supported by market forces, at times through government funding, and at times because altruistic individuals wanted to contribute to digital progress for the benefit of all. Personal computer software, video games, and online services such as AOL were mainly driven by the pursuit of profit. On the other end of the spectrum is Linus Torvalds, the computer science student at the University of Helsinki in Finland, who created Linux, a key component to a free and open operating system. Instead of trying to profit from Linux, he donated it to the public good. This act sparked an avalanche of volunteers around the world who descended upon the source code, fixing bugs and vastly improving the system. The third, and perhaps most important force behind advancements in the digital era was the U.S. federal government. Over 30 years, in partnership with corporations and academic institutions, it funded and built an infrastructure project that would revolutionize society. The story of the invention of the Internet undermines a key narrative popular on the U.S. political right, which believes that the free market, unburdened of laws, regulations, and government initiatives, drives innovation. According to this narrative, all the new technologies, products, services, and protections that society needs are produced as a result of free enterprise. Well, this is untrue in the case of the Internet. It wasn't the market that realized that society needed this technology, but the government, which then funded and developed the Internet. As economist and former Labor Secretary Robert Reich points out, the free market has never existed and will never truly exist. Government rules, efforts, and programs have always structured the market. Key Insight 5. Advances in computer and networking technology were often driven by the military. During World War II, the U.S. War Department funded electronics courses at prestigious universities to prepare a generation of scientists and engineers. The military helped foster markets for new technologies, and it was the first major market for microchips. Some theorize that the Pentagon's ARPA created the Internet because the United States needed a communication system that could survive a nuclear attack. With its decentralized design, a web of nodes, the Internet wouldn't have been destroyed by a Soviet missile. Today, the U.S. military remains in the business of developing cutting-edge technologies. As Discover magazine reported in July 2017, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, the current version of ARPA, is currently working on a way to merge the human mind with machines. In 2017, DARPA awarded $65 million to 6 groups at various academic and research institutions to create neural implants that will convert brain activity into binary code, or the ones and zeros that become instructions for computers. Brain-computer interfaces are nowhere close to undergoing human trials, but they could eventually allow the military superhuman abilities. One day, this military technology might, as in the case of the Internet, offer important benefits to the broader public, including solutions to physical impairments and brain disorders. One of the awardees, Brown University, is attempting to track neurological activity by seeding the brain with tens of thousands of tiny sensors, smaller than a millimeter. Scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, hope to create a tool to manipulate neurons in the cerebral cortex in order to control a prosthetic limb. A working model may be years away, but DARPA hopes that ultimately such a system will be able to gather information from roughly 1 million neurons out of 86 billion total, and to fit into a device that is no larger than 1 cubic centimeter. It may seem unlikely today, But this advanced military technology may someday be as ubiquitous as the Internet. Key Insight 6. Although the general public thinks of the tech field as male-dominated, many women have played important roles in envisioning and creating the modern-day computer. Ada Lovelace first conceived of what would become the modern-day computer. She did so by embellishing upon a hypothetical machine, called the analytical engine, dreamed up by scientist and mathematician Charles Babbage, that would be able to perform a variety of functions based on a set of instructions. She also designed the first published computer program. During World War II, as early versions of computers were being constructed at Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania, a group of women were responsible for programming these machines. They were integral to the functioning of the first general-purpose programmable computer, but received little credit or attention. Today, women in the tech field face some of the same challenges that women 70 years ago did. An October 2017 article in the New York Times assessed the state of women in tech around the world. Unsurprisingly, women in STEM careers still find that men often treat them with condescension, or worse. In August 2017, one male Google employee found it necessary to circulate a memo in which he argued that women held fewer leadership positions at the company for biological reasons, including that women are less able to cope with stress. In addition to gender discrimination, sexual harassment is rampant in the tech industry. The second half of 2017 saw an avalanche of sexual harassment and assault accusations against powerful men in all industries in the wake of allegations against film producer Harvey Weinstein. Earlier the same year, an outpouring of stories of harassment rocked the tech field. Sexual harassment is particularly problematic in tech because of the huge disparities in power and pay that put men in a position to take advantage of those below them. 78% of female tech company founders report that they have been harassed or know someone who has, according to a 2017 survey by First Round Capital, a venture firm. More than 50% of women who enter the field eventually leave. The high levels of gender discrimination and harassment in tech mean that many women continue to be excluded from much of the history of the digital revolution. Key Insight 7. The development of the home computer stemmed largely from the demands of civilians, in particular from many countercultural strands including community organizers, hippies, members of the New Left political movement, communalists, and hackers. Vannevar Bush, who was dean of the MIT School of Engineering and a lead military science administrator during World War II, first conceived the idea of a personal computer in 1945. However, companies didn't believe that regular consumers would have any use for them, so computers remained the domain of the military and academia for many decades. It was a combination of hobbyists, along with hippies, leftist radicals, and community organizers who demonstrated demand for these machines. When the first rudimentary personal computer was released in 1975, orders for it exploded. Today, political activists and artists continue to embrace and advance digital technology. As a 2013 article in Forbes pointed out, at Burning Man, an annual arts and music festival in Nevada, artists and techies come together to create a temporary communal city in the desert. Similarly, so-called sharing communities that are created in cities like San Francisco often run programs like car-sharing apps and co-working spaces. Stuart Brand, who coined the term personal computer and was a leader of the do-it-yourself movement in the 1960s and 1970s, told Forbes that another subset of the counterculture today consists of biohackers, who are amateur scientists in citizen-run collectives who may experiment with DNA and genes, attempt to improve their health with electricity, or create synthetic biological systems with building blocks called biobricks. Going forward, it is likely that those on the edges of society will continue to help lead the digital revolution. Key Insight 8. One hallmark of the digital age has been the creation of workspaces that reflect the democratizing technologies that the companies are producing. Beginning in the 1950s, Hewlett-Packard, based in Silicon Valley, pioneered a new type of office culture featuring flexible hours, horizontal management, and Friday parties. Robert Noyce of Intel built upon this model to create an environment where executives didn't have special parking spaces or corner offices, and management was team-based. Even on the East Coast, at research institutions such as Bell Labs in New Jersey, it was important for the varied experts at a company to have easy access to each other, to exchange ideas through frequent, casual interactions. Workspace innovation has continued apace, with many of the top tech companies in Silicon Valley now offering generous benefits to entice prospective employees, in addition to beautiful offices designed to be casual, fun, and social. Google, for example, boasts pool tables and sleep pods, free food, and a free gym. Employees can bring their pets to work. Some get free rides to and from the office, and they can give each other massage credits to award performance. Perks like these go to the elite workers in the Valley, such as those in programming, designing, and engineering. Workers at the low end of the pay scale have an entirely different experience. As tech companies have followed the national outsourcing trend over the years, workers in service jobs, such as janitors and cafeteria hands, have lost key benefits, including vacation, bonuses, and tuition reimbursements, as well as the opportunity to advance within the company. Several tech firms, including Facebook, have raised wages to $15 per hour for those on the bottom, but it remains difficult for these workers to survive in one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country. These workers must resort to drastic lengths to survive on their meager wages. Key Insight 9. Nearly all innovations in the digital age were eventually directed towards social uses. Even if a technology was not invented expressly for social purposes, users have ultimately found social uses for them. The transistor, for example, was invented to replace large and clunky vacuum tubes that control the electric current in computers, but Texas Instruments repurposed it to create the wildly popular transistor radios that teens would gather around to hear music their parents wouldn't allow. The Defense Department's early Internet, ARPANET, was developed for sharing resources, but researchers also used it for email and other communications. The online service America Online, AOL, first dominated the market largely because it allowed personal computers to morph into social networking tools. However, as social media usage continues to explode, research suggests that it may not have the positive effects on health that real social interaction does. In a January 2018 article, the BBC reviewed what the science says thus far. One study found that those surveyed reported a more negative mood after using Facebook for 20 minutes as opposed to after just browsing the Internet. A 2017 study showed that social media may increase anxiety as well. The BBC's review also reported that use of social media can negatively affect self-esteem and interfere with relationships, and may increase envy and loneliness. While the article also highlighted some positive effects of social media, these studies are enough to suggest that it may be healthful to use social media in moderation. Important people. Walter Isaacson is the CEO of the Aspen Institute, an international think tank, and is the former chairman of CNN and managing editor at Time magazine. He has written several books, including Steve Jobs, 2011, Einstein, His Life and Universe, 2008, Benjamin Franklin, An American Life, 2004, and Kissinger, A Biography, 2005. Ada Lovelace, 1815 to 1852, was an English mathematician who first envisioned the general-purpose computer. She was the daughter of the poet Lord Byron. John Mauchly, 1907 to 1980, was an American physicist who co-designed the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, ENIAC, the first modern computer. J. Presper Eckert, 1919 to 1995, was an American electrical engineer who co-designed the ENIAC with Mauchly. J.C.R. Licklider, 1915 to 1990, was an American computer scientist and psychologist who pioneered the concept of the Internet. Bill Gates is an American entrepreneur and philanthropist who co-founded Microsoft, the world's largest software maker, with Paul Allen. Paul Allen is an American programmer and businessman who, along with Gates, co-founded Microsoft. Steve Wozniak is an American electronics engineer and programmer who co-founded Apple with Steve Jobs. He developed the Apple I and designed the Apple II. Steve Jobs, 1955 to 2011, was an American industrial designer and business magnate who co-founded Apple with Wozniak and became chairman and CEO. Al Gore is an American politician and former vice president who pushed legislation in the early 1990s to allow commercial networks to connect to the Internet and to make the Internet widely available to the general public. Larry Page is an American computer scientist who co-founded Google. Sergey Brin is a Russian-born American computer scientist who co-founded Google. Wes Clark, 1927 to 2016, was an American computer designer who invented routers. Robert Kahn, an American engineer, co-created the first Internet protocols. Vint Cerf, an American engineer, co-created the first Internet protocols. Author's style. Each chapter in the Innovators is dedicated to the people and events behind an important breakthrough in the digital revolution. Isaacson chronicles each innovator's life, from birth through to the development of his or her invention. These intermittent trips into biography significantly lighten and enliven the text, which also contains a good amount of technical details. However, Isaacson lays out this information in language accessible to readers with little prior knowledge of digital technology. The book contains 12 chapters plus an introduction. It features an illustrated timeline of digital innovation at the front, as well as photos of various inventors and entrepreneurs throughout the text. The back of the book contains a lengthy endnotes section and an index. Author's perspective. Walter Isaacson was born in 1952 in New Orleans, graduated from Harvard, and became a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford University. He worked at the Sunday Times of London and the New Orleans Times-Picayune before joining Time magazine, where he became editor. Later, he was chairman and CEO of CNN and president and CEO of the Aspen Institute, an international nonpartisan think tank. Isaacson has written a number of biographies, chronicling the lives of Leonardo da Vinci, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Benjamin Franklin, and Henry Kissinger. In the introduction to the Innovators, Isaacson notes that the book was partly inspired by what he learned from writing about Franklin, an inventor and entrepreneur. Isaacson says that his own experience witnessing technological changes throughout his lifetime also motivated him to explore the history behind them.